Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's live stream. It's a student stream, actually, where we have one of our previous students sharing a lot of information that helped him. Of course, everyone, I am Stephen Torres. I'm the faculty director here at Career Launch, and I'm with
Sean O'Keefe. I'm the founder, partner, and the Chief Impact Officer at Career Launch. Our mission is to partner with colleges and college programs to help scale the skill set of launching an internship or a job search, especially for students with few to no connections. And we've launched a StudentStream to provide value to students who are not going to colleges that are currently partnered with us. So we know it's a tough time to land internships and jobs during this pandemic. And so this is one of the ways that we wanted to provide value to students across the country.
Awesome. Thanks, Sean. And we want to welcome our special guest today, Ross Urbina. Hello, Ross. How are you?
I'm doing great. How about you, Stephen?
I'm doing great. Thank you for joining us for today's student stream and sharing your story with everyone. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having me.
Of course, of course. So let's start off a little bit here. Now, you are currently a senior, is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. And you started, let's kind of walk through your journey engaging with the career launch method and specifically with Sean. How did you come about finding this?
Yeah, definitely. So I took a class when I was a freshman, kind of on a whim. I think it was called Foundations of Leadership. And fortunately, that was a class with Sean. And he basically taught the career launch method back then. I don't think it was officially formed. I think that was just kind of an idea at that point that he briefly started bringing out. But basically learned all the importance of informational interviews, how to really connect with people, build relationships with people. The 5x5 networking sheet was really helpful, and everything that he shared. So with that process, I've been able to use that since really the start of my freshman year. So that was really effective.
Wow.
And
so
then
you took Sean's class as a freshman.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. And I'm curious, had you thought about your career and all this stuff? Because I'm sure some of this content was a little different, for a freshman. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I didn't actually. So my dad kind of encouraged me to have coffee chats with people. And I was like, Dad, no, that's just so bad. That's just so weird to do that. So I was super against the idea and hadn't really thought about what I wanted to do for career. But then Sean's class really helps me out a lot with that. I really understood that informational interviews and everything he's saying is super important. And yeah, that kind of started having me think actually about my career and what I need to do to get there.
Oh, that's fantastic. Okay, so you started engaging with this stuff as a freshman, and then how did it progress? Tell us how it progressed.
Yeah, definitely. So it just kind of helped throughout my career journey, being able to apply to different things, able to talk to people, whether it's either before the interview process or after, or during the interview process. And it just helps a lot with being able to establish relationships with people when applying. That way you can better chance of getting the interviews, and also be able to nail the interviews after that fact. And also it helps with the career discovery journey too, because there are some people that I talked to in industries that maybe I was interested at first, but after kind of speaking with them a little bit more, just realized hey, I don't necessarily want to do that for a job. So whether it's the career exploration journey or actually getting internships and jobs, that the career launch method definitely helps a lot.
Okay, so we're definitely going to talk about this. So let's go back to that freshman year. You're taking Sean's class. What was the class called, Sean? What was the class back then called?
Foundations of Leadership.
Foundations of Leadership. And so you're learning about leadership, and there's this exploration piece where you start talking to people. As a student, what was going through your mind? Wait. You're supposed to be teaching about leadership, and now you want me to talk to people?
Yeah, it was a little strange at first. I think all of us didn't necessarily recognize how important that actually was. So it was really beneficial to have Sean kind of talk about how effective that actually was for us. And then, yeah, he just kind of, I think it was a lot about building your kind of network and kind of career leadership skills. But yeah, overall really effective.
Okay. Had you even thought about quote unquote networking as a freshman?
No, I kind of hated that term if I was going to be
Really,
honest
really.
at
Tell me,
that
tell
time.
me why. Tell me why. Tell me why.
I think when I thought of networking, I pictured like we're all in kind of a networking gathering and it's all superficial and
Yeah.
really just kind of you don't get anything from it rather than just like trying to get the job. But I think through Sean's class, I really understood the value of like actually establishing like good relationships with people and how it can be like a mutually beneficial relationship. And a lot of like the connections that I've had throughout like my 3, 4 years of college like they've been actual genuine connections and not just using them for like connections. And I've learned a lot through them as well.
Yeah, and Sean, can you speak to this a little bit? Because I think many, especially like freshmen, sophomore, when you hear that term networking, like Ross said, it's so fake, right? You think of like going to a cocktail party and like, hey, Bob, it's like, what the hell? You're like, we're not going to do that. That's like total BS, right? And so, how do you frame this so that people like Ross or maybe people who are not familiar with networking start to get it?
I think it starts with knowing how important people's college education is to them. Students spend a lot of money and a lot of time investing in their education, and the number one reason that they do is to get a good job. It's not the only reason, but it's one of the main reasons for 90%, 95% of college students. So if getting a good job is the outcome, is the result that students want, then we got to talk about what are all the different ways we can get that result. And for Ross being a first year student, he was far off, right? He was 6 months out of it's 9 months out of high school, right? So that's on the early side, but students are hungry for this to learn this philosophy. But going back to the outcomes part, so if you kind of think about you want to give them your best chance of success, then what are all the different things that students can do to optimize success, right? Almost all colleges have info sessions and career fairs, and those are fabulous resources. And so many students, I think I heard a statistic like only 30 to 40% of students attend their career fair each year. And that's crazy to me, why you wouldn't go every year. Every student wouldn't go every year. But in addition to great resources that your campuses have, I'm also really a big proponent, partly because of my own personal experience, of being intentional. And so in addition to all the resources that your school is providing through all the different technology platforms and coffee chats and info sessions and networking events, why don't we also take some time to make a top 10 list of organizations that we'd like to work for, right? Not society's top 10, but our personal top 10. And then why don't we think about how we can be intentional to going after those companies, whether or not there's jobs posted online, because as we try and, spread the word, higher ed knows this, but most students don't know that only 80% of jobs are in the hidden job market. They're not posted online, only 20% of jobs. So that was a long-winded answer, but I think, when I'm sitting there, sitting in front of the class, and I try not to use the word networking, because some students are like Ross and say they have this image of a mixer. And then other students have told me that they think networking is just adding connections on social media. Right. And so what we do at Career Launch, as far as building relationships from scratch, is a subset of networking that, we just need to, encourage more students to take advantage of.
So Ross, let's talk about what was your intended major your freshman year? Did you already know what you were going to major in?
Yeah, I wasn't too sure at that point. I was probably leaning towards finance, which I did eventually go into. But I think at that point, like I was interested in financial advising, and I actually like networked with some people in financial advising during Sean's class. But then like that was able to transfer over to like some things that I find a little bit more interesting now.
So at first you wanted to get into the stocks.
Yeah, kind of like helping manage other people's money to help them get returns. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Sounds great. No, that's fantastic. And as you were going through the class, you mentioned you started like reaching out and talking to different people and eventually got into finance, but the stocks didn't quite, wasn't what you ended up wanting to do. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
So how did these interviews, right? These career conversations that you're having with folks, how did this influence what you ended up, finding what you really wanted to focus on?
Yeah, so actually, the conversations I had with the financial advisors during Sean's first class, I really enjoyed those conversations, and they were able to actually provide me resources with things to like further look into. And like I remember one person gave me literally like a pamphlet that I could check out these resources and opportunities. And it wasn't until after his class that I kind of realized that maybe wasn't for me after I like learned a little bit more about that. But had I not done some of those informational interviews, I probably would have continued to go down this financial advisor route just because I wouldn't have really known exactly what they do and why it may not be super applicable to me anymore.
Yeah, right. I mean that's such a huge important thing I think for students out there to understand, right? Is that there's this idea that you absolutely have to know what you're going to do, right? You have to know what you're going to major in. You have to know what you want to do as a career. You have to know. The thing is that many of us don't, right? And so there's these students who come in, and Ross, you may have been like where you're thinking one thing, but then as you start to have more awareness of like what's really involved through these career conversations, through reaching out to people, you're able to go, you know what? I don't know about that anymore.
Yeah, that's
right.
Yeah, that's
Tell
exactly right.
us.
Sorry, go ahead.
Keep going. Tell us.
Yeah, so I think the biggest frustration I have with like the current higher education system is that we kind of are expected to know exactly what we want to do, but are never actually shown how to do that. And I think I've talked about this a lot. It's like a thing I'm really passionate about. But I think through the career launch method, like you can really discover actually what you want to learn. And through these informational interviews and what Sean teaches, you can actually figure that out. So I mentioned I was initially interested in financial advising. There were probably about like 4 different career paths that I explored a little bit more through informational interviews, and now most interested in consulting. That may change, who knows? But I think one of the conversations I actually had that made me decline an offer. So I had an offer to an accounting internship at one of the big 4, and I was kind of leaning towards it. It was like the safe option, like a good career option, but literally just through one conversation, I realized that, oh my God, I do not want to do this. Like she was a wonderful person, but just through the conversation, I just realized I did not want to do that. And through those types of conversations, we can really learn what we like and what we don't like. So I think just career launch method is super impactful for people.
You said so much there that I want to unpack. We'll start at the beginning. Sean, cover your ears. Maybe I should cover my ears too. Sometimes, higher education, what was the words that you said? It lets people down. How did you say that? I don't want to like put words in your mouth.
Yeah, and this is also not just higher education. It's mostly society, not necessarily higher education. But we are expected to know exactly what we want to do, but are never shown the resources to figure out how to figure out that path.
Yeah, and this right here, I think is something I see it on campus where I teach, right? You see it on your campus, and we see it all over the place. And in fact, in many majors, here's my little critique. In many majors, they predetermine a path for students in that major, right? You're going to do this, you're going to do that, you're going to do that. And then people go through and they're like, I don't want to do that, right? Or I don't know, after they get into it and they're like totally unhappy. And so, Ross, how did you make that determination? Because that takes a lot of will to be able to go and have this path that's kind of there. You're getting these skills and resources from Sean, but what were you thinking when you said, hey, I don't want to do this? Like, what was going through your mind?
Yeah, it was, so I think accounting, I always saw it as kind of like a safe path, sets a lot of career options and stuff, but I didn't necessarily like the job that it may entail. And I think it started making me realize that like I need to continue exploring different things, since like there's a whole bunch of different pathways that you can take, and maybe the accounting pathway wasn't right for me. And it kind of just made me realize like, hey, let's try out this other pathway. And I think that through like these informational interviews, it allows you to take this like minor step in that pathway, basically like dip your toe in the water, see like, do I like that or do I not like it? And I think a lot of people, if they don't really like do this informational interviews or explore too much, they may like take a full position in that particular field and then realize it maybe a little bit later. But I think it was just a moment for me to realize like, hey, let's try other things. And it was helped me to navigate that.
And Sean, so when you hear this, that a student goes through the process, they have an offer from a big four accounting firm, and they realize it's not for them, and they turn it down. How does, as an educator, how does that make you feel?
Well, it means that they've step one of the career launch method is discernment. And so it means that they spent time thinking about what they really value in a career, because no matter the time, getting an offer from any organization is flattering, right? And it's not always easy to turn down. It's funny because I just was speaking to a student the other day. They turned down a non-Big Four position for a Big Four. So it's all, different students have different backgrounds and different mindsets and goals of where they're trying to go. And so the best way to learn about a potential career or career path, job type, job function is through an internship. But you probably can't fit in 10 internships into a college career. So the next best thing, hopefully you can get it 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 maybe in. But the next best thing is having these career conversations, or what a lot of people call informational interviews. We now use the term, Ross, since you last took the class, we've transitioned to using the term career conversation, just because we found that it creates a higher probability of students getting a yes when they do outreach. So the next best thing besides an internship is to actually speak with someone who works in the actual job function or career path that you're interested in. And you can learn a lot from that, and it can open your eyes to what you like. And sometimes what you don't like is just as important as what you like.
Yeah, and I think that is the main thing that, for all of you out there watching us and listening to Ross's story, as an educator, when a student actually comes to the awareness of, you know what, I don't want this, I want something else. That is a huge breakthrough, because I can tell you this, most people don't know what they really want. They don't. And so, Ross, I have to give, kudos to you, and your upbringing, everything that you're around it, because that's a really hard thing, right? Most people, if they have a job offer from a top, four accounting firm, and they know that there are people who prize that, they're going to take it because they're not really sure. Right. And so, Ross, what that's telling me is that through this process, right, through this journey, you grew to a level of awareness that you knew, I don't want this. And boy, that's a huge, hats off to you. That's a huge thing. That's a really huge thing to progress in your career, to progress just to overall in your life. So that's fantastic. And so you turn that down, and where did you transition to? Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I took a summer internship instead at Calypso, which it's a consulting firm focusing on digital transformation. And that I kind of learned through a lot of these career conversations, I guess now they're called, that consulting is the direction I wanted to take. So decided to take a little bit different path than consulting route.
Gotcha. That's awesome. Digital transformation. I saw it yesterday. I think I was on LinkedIn. Some of you may have seen this little cartoon thing where it's like 2021 digital transformation, top percentage of what caused digital transformation. It's like led by the CEO is like, 10%, led by the CIO, 10%, COVID-19, 80%, right?
Yeah.
And so that just remember when you said digital transformation, that's something I think we're all going through. So now, so is that where you want to take this, by the way, is consulting? Have you used this process to keep going?
Yeah, so I'm going back to Calypso in about September, back full time. So yeah, I was able to like experience an internship, really like it, and then wanted to go back to it.
Okay. And now I want to ask about something else here. You recently have a book that just came out. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Tell us about this.
Yeah, so the book is called Take Advantage of Your Youth, and it's basically a personal development book for young people. And I wrote it for because I learned a lot of different lessons throughout my high school and college career journey. But the issue is, and I think these things really helped me with my growth journey, being able to like career discernment and just kind of improve personally. But the issue was a lot of it, or most of it, I didn't necessarily learn from the current educational system. It was through like my own research, through reading different books, or through just kind of mentors. And I wanted to basically share all this information in a way that would be directly towards youth, directed exactly towards them. And it covers topics like how to find mentors, how to use your youth to your advantage rather than as a weakness, kind of the career discovery journey process. And I think a lot of that or the one piece actually that came from like the traditional education was Sean's class. And yeah, kind of on the like how to navigate career paths a little bit and talk about the career conversations there.
That's awesome. How long did it take you to write?
It was kind of an on and off process. In total, it took about 3 years, but again, there were kind of times where very busy, so couldn't have as much work on it. But about a 3 year journey.
Awesome.
Congratulations.
And
Thanks.
yeah, that's fantastic. So, and it just came out. Where can people, if they want to get a copy, where could they go?
Yeah, it's on Amazon. If you search up "Take Advantage of Your Youth," hopefully it'll pop up. Yeah,
Get your copy.
Sean,
Awesome. Awesome.
let's go.
We'll drop the link in in the little comments or whatever on YouTube or on Facebook afterwards. So Ross, so let's talk a little bit about this because I think everything that you're saying is so crucial, right? And I could totally see how the information you got from Sean's class was one of the most helpful things. I think that I forgot what the actual research number is, but there's a certain percentage of information that you learn in college that I think it's 4 to 5 years out is no longer valid, right? It's just you're never going to use it anymore. It's changed, especially when in the College of Engineering where I'm at, there's different languages and things like that come in, and so as you were looking to put all of this together, what really stood out as maybe 2 or 3 points that maybe young people need to be aware of, maybe even in high school, right? Because you got this going as a freshman, and many people won't get, Sean's information maybe till sophomore, junior, sometimes even senior year. Could you elaborate on what do you think there's some key tools for maybe high school students who are preparing or maybe even other freshmen as they look to make a better life, or as Sean would say, win life?
Yeah, I would say there's probably two big things that I think is really valuable. The first is it's never too late to actually start discovering these out. I didn't really start thinking about my actual career until maybe late freshman year. But I think we should start thinking about that like freshman year of high school. And we don't have to necessarily do a ton of networking or anything like that. But I think we should like be given just like hints of what different career paths may look like. And if the education system doesn't allow for that, you can easily, it's just a Google search away. Like I was never introduced to programming when I was in high school. I didn't even know it was a thing. But had I taken that tech steps to do that, I could have explored it early. And by the way, I'm not a programmer. Like that all worked out, but it could have been a really big passion for me that I just never would have discovered. So just really like start as early as possible. And number two, I think nobody is necessarily out of your reach to get in contact with. Like if you're interested in a specific industry or field, you can talk to people there. Like I was super intimidated my freshman year because I was like, why would this financial advisor want to talk to me? But the reality of it is maybe this person isn't willing to talk to you, but this other person will be. And by casting a wide net and just being really persistent with the follow-ups and reaching out to a ton of people, you can build a wide network. And like through my college years, I think I've done at least 80 informational interviews in like a variety of fields. And that's literally, most of them are cold contacts that I would just reach out to people, and enough people said yes.
Wow. I mean, there's so much we could dig off into that. You know, everything you said, I hope those of you out there who are watching this, either live or on the replay, get that nobody is out of your reach. The biggest barrier is where? It's here, right? Ross?
Yeah, 100%.
You know, it's funny. I'll never forget, you know, when I was an undergrad, I was sitting down at a, like an event, and the speaker was a gentleman named Paul Otellini. He was at the time the CEO of Intel, and which is a large tech firm here in Silicon Valley. And I'll never forget sitting there and having lunch next to him. And you know, for someone like me who grew up in Fresno, wasn't into tech that much, other than, you know, having some video games, I was like, oh my God, I'm sitting next to the CEO, Paul Otellini. And, you know, he's like, yeah, if you have anything, you know, he gave everybody his email. He's like, reach out to me. And Ross, you know, I was fortunate to be in that environment. But what people don't understand is they don't just have to be in that environment. There's other things they could do to have those connections, isn't there?
Yeah, definitely. And I think even on that, like when I said nobody is out of your reach, like that definitely is true. When I had my internship my sophomore year, I emailed the CEO of the company, and it was a public company, about 7,000 people. And like he said yes to that. I had a 15-minute meeting with him. Like that was awesome. I also did that with the top person CEO at my last internship too. And even on a cold email, I emailed a partner at KPMG, and she agreed to meet with me just off cold email. So especially like if you have a connection, like you're an intern there, you probably have higher chances, obviously, of getting that. But like just really being courageous and being able to like take those opportunities and reach out to people can have great results.
Wow, man, Ross, that is fantastic. And, you know, for those of you out there, if you want to learn this process that Ross was using, that, you know, thousands of students are using to help them with career conversations, to find these jobs and internships that they want, I'd highly encourage you to come and visit one of our webinars. In fact, we have one today at 3 o'clock. I think there's a link across the bottom, and so that you could start to learn this process, because this is a process, right? If you just kind of ho-hum, I don't know if you'll have the same results. But if you go through the process, you're going to be able to have the results that folks like Ross and many, many others have. And so, Ross, I really want to thank you for coming and sharing this story. I mean, I think it's really awesome. I'll have to get a copy of that book. Sean, is there anything you'd like to add here before we wrap up our live stream?
Yeah, I do. And Ross, thanks for encouraging others, because it's really important to meet professionals, to go through the process of discernment, to figure out what career types and job types are going to be best for each individual. Yes, you can reach out to people. Just remember, and when you get a yes, you're representing not only yourself, but you're representing your university. So it's really important to execute all the micro steps that go into not only getting a yes, but then what to say, what to wear, how to make small talk, how not to be robotic in your question asking, to really make sure that the person who said yes, because we're creating this ecosystem, right? Where professionals are giving back to students with their time. So it's our job as students, or your job as students, to make sure that they feel like you prepared well. There's probably about an hour of preparation that you should do. The Career Launch Method teaches details on that, but if you don't go through the Career Launch Method, just know that you're not only representing yourself, you're representing your university, and it's important as you go through your professional development, that you want to make, when people do say yes to taking time to meet with you, that they feel really good about the experience. So you're prepared, they feel good about making the investment of their time, and you express gratitude on the back end in your follow-up, which should be more than just a simple thank you email.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Sean. Well, everyone, that's it for today. Please join us next week, same time, 10:30 a.m. for our student stream, where we'll be sharing another story and some more about this process, how you can find an internship or job that you want. Also, if you have time, please check out our webinar. There's a link scrolling below, and it'll really be some fabulous information that'll help you on this journey. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ross. Thank you, Sean. We'll see you all next week for our student stream. Bye-bye, everyone.